everyone. All right, so I'm going to get started in a moment. Can somebody in the chat let me know if they can hear me and if they can hear the music and if I need to turn either volume up or down? Just want to make sure I'm coming through clear. Hope everybody is staying safe and warm. I am in Worcester and okay, can hear me but not the music. Okay, great. Well, I'll try to turn it up a little. All right, I'll turn the music up a little. Thank you guys for letting me know. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me. My name is Al, if you don't know me. I am a yoga teacher. I live in Worcester. I teach yoga at the YMCA, the Hockomock YMCA in Franklin and Foxborough, and I do some yoga in the taproom classes at some local breweries and some other just sort of pop-up things. So, you know, my classes got canceled today, so I thought that I would, you know, just do a little free class for everybody that's sort of stuck at home and maybe is used to doing yoga or doing some kind of activity on their Saturday and is stuck in the house. So hopefully this brings a little bit of movement and a little bit of extra joy and life to your day stuck inside. I know this is kind of one of the biggest storms that we've gotten in a while. So hopefully, you know, everybody maintains power and everything too, but you should be able to watch this on the YouTube app if for any reason your power goes out. So hopefully this will be a good time, and we'll go ahead and get started in a seated position. So just to kind of get everybody set up, I just want to talk a little bit about at-home yoga because, you know, you may have done yoga before in a studio or some other in-person setting, but maybe you haven't tried yoga at home before. Maybe this is your first time kind of doing it. So just want to make sure everybody is comfy and has everything that they need. So, you know, I have a yoga mat, obviously. I assume most people have a yoga mat or something that they can use like a yoga mat. So if you don't have one, not a huge deal. You can use, you can just do yoga on your carpet, to be honest. You don't need to have a mat, but you could also use some kind of blanket or towel or something. So these are the towels that, or sorry, the blankets that are often used in yoga practice. This kind of blanket is great because it has a little texture, so it kind of helps with that grip. And a towel works great too because usually it is a little bit textured like a blanket like this, so that kind of helps you just kind of stay put on the mat. A fuzzier blanket you might slide around a little bit, so just make sure that you have something that is going to kind of stay put wherever you are, even if you need to, you know, layer a couple blankets and towels on top of each other so that you have enough cushioning as well. And a folded up blanket, just in general, even if you do have a yoga mat, can be nice for a little extra cushioning under the knees if that's something that's sensitive for you. So just kind of setting up your space and making sure you have somewhere comfy to set up for your practice. And we're going to start in a seated position today. So you can sit cross-legged, you can sit back on your heels, whatever kind of feels best for you. And we're just going to take a couple long deep breaths to settle in today. So you can close your eyes, you can rest your hands by your sides. And let's just take a few long deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose. And then sighing it out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. So we're just starting our practice by settling into a couple long deep breaths. So we always start and end our yoga class with a little bit of stillness, a little bit of meditation. And at the beginning of class, it just kind of helps us to arrive in whatever space we're in. So you may have been, doing something else this morning. You might have just rolled out of bed. You might be coming from doing some chores or, coming in from your first round of shoveling. Wherever you're coming from, just let that be behind you now as we settle into our mat and just let ourselves become present with exactly what's going on right now. And to do that, we can, really start to focus on our breath. We can really start to notice what's going on in the body and mind at this moment. So you might, notice the feeling of your sit bones feeling connected to the earth. You might notice any sensations in the body, so anywhere that feels really sore or really tight. You might notice something that's on your mind that's bothering you, or something that you're thinking about that you have to do later today. And I'm not necessarily telling you to completely eliminate all of those thoughts or all of those sensations or reactions, but just let yourself notice them, be aware of them, and find a little bit of acceptance with whatever it is that you're thinking or feeling. And then also just give yourself a little bit of congratulations and appreciation for making time to take care of yourself. So, when there's inclement weather or when our plans get canceled, it's really tempting to just kind of sink into the couch and watch Netflix all day, which is definitely going to be a part of my day and probably a lot of your days too. But, there are so many ways that we can make time to take care of ourselves and still nurture our bodies and find some movement, even on the rainiest and snowiest days. So, just to start off, before we even do anything, I'm proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself too for making this time to take care of yourself and be present with yourself. Just take a couple more breaths right here. One more. Feel free to, say anything in the chat as we go through our class. We'll start moving in a moment, but if you have any questions along the way, that YouTube live chat should be available to you if you're watching this on the YouTube page. So just want to make sure everybody knows that that's there for them. All right, go ahead and blink your eyes open if they were closed. And with a big breath in, let's sweep the arms up and overhead and let the fingertips meet overhead. As you breathe out, start to release your right fingertips down to the mat and then extend your left arm over your left ear. So just finding a nice big side bend along the left side of the body, reaching towards the right side of the room. As you inhale, reach back up, let the fingers meet again. And as you exhale, lower the left fingertips, reach the right arm up and over the right ear. Good. And let's continue that with the breath. Inhaling to reach up and exhaling to side bend. Inhale, reach up and exhale, side bend. And just flowing back and forth. So starting to move with your own breath, coordinating your breathing with your movements. So as we go through this, don't feel like you have to be moving at the exact same pace as me. So I know a lot of people might be watching the video, kind of making sure that they're exactly mirroring what I'm doing. Let yourself kind of listen in, lean into whatever is going on in your own body and move with your own pace, with your own breath. And that kind of starts here, but as we continue to move through our practice, don't feel like you have to look exactly the way I look. You know, there are some places where you might be a little more flexible than me, a little less flexible than me. You might want to take the pose somewhere a little different. And that's the beautiful thing about practicing at home, is it doesn't have to look exactly like me or exactly like the other people in the class. You can kind of make every pose work for you. Take one more big stretch on each side. Breathing in and up. Exhale, side. In and up. Exhale, side. Inhale, reach back up. And as you exhale, just let your hands fall to either side of you. Soften the shoulders. Start to bring your shoulders up towards your ears, and then let the shoulders glide down your back. So just making some circles with the shoulders in one direction. And this can feel really nice if you're someone who sits at a desk and hunches over, or if you just have tight shoulders. I always hear a little bit of a crackling noise when I do this, which is totally normal, even if you do it all the time. It's just kind of an area that, for a lot of us, needs to be kind of massaged out once in a while. And then go ahead and switch directions. So I'll bring the shoulders the other way around, making a circle that way. Let's do a few more in this direction. And then go ahead and just soften the shoulders again. Let them be heavy. Good. Go ahead and extend the hands out in front of you. So we're looking at the back of the hands now, palms facing out in front of you, and just spread the fingers super wide apart. So you should feel a good stretch in the wrists here, and a stretch in all those tiny little muscles in the hands. Good. Big stretch. And then go ahead and point the fingers straight down. Stretching the wrists in the opposite direction. One more time, point your fingers up. And then point your fingers down. And then we'll just make some circles with the wrists. So just rolling them around in one direction. And then in the other direction. Good. And then you can just shake out the hands a little bit. And then we're going to make our way onto all fours. So setting up in our tabletop position. So on your hands and knees, just kind of setting up here, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. Now, if you have a hard time being on your wrists, this is somewhere where it might feel good to elevate them a little bit. So I didn't bring my yoga blocks out with me because I know not everybody has them, but you know, if you're new to yoga and you start to get tired of being on your hands, you can bring them up onto a wall for a little extra support, or if you have like a coffee table nearby, you can put your hands on the coffee table. So just a couple options for anytime we're on our hands and knees, or, you know, putting a lot of weight into the wrists. If you start to feel tired, you can always elevate them onto something. So once you kind of feel set up here, we'll take a breath in and start to drop the belly and lift the head and heart. So making this nice big arch in the spine, drawing the shoulder blades together. This is our cow pose. And as you exhale, round through the spine and look back between the arms towards the tops of your thighs for cat pose. And just like when we were flowing from side to side, we'll start to flow between those two shapes with the breath. So as you inhale, open the heart, drop your belly. And as you exhale, round through the spine and look back between the arms. And we'll just continue that with the breath. Like I said, don't feel like you have to move at the exact same pace as me. You might go a little faster, you might go a little slower. Just coordinating your breathing with your movements. And as we flow back and forth between those two shapes, it might feel good to move the spine in a couple different directions. So if you'd like to maybe also move from side to side, looking one direction then the other, or shifting the weight forward and back a couple times, feel free to do that. Don't feel like you're kind of glued to this one movement of our cat and cow pose. Just kind let yourself explore beyond your hands and knees and wiggle around, finding whatever feels best for you. Take about 3 more rounds of breath here. So just exploring the shape. 2 more big breaths. One more breath. And then bring your spine to neutral, coming back through tabletop position. Start to walk your hands out in front of you and then shift your hips all the way back towards your heels. It might feel good to separate the knees a little bit wider. And just let your forehead release down towards the earth. This is our child's pose. Now, if you're feeling like there's a lot of space between your forehead and the mat, or like a lot of space between your hips and your heels, that's totally fine. It can help a lot to grab a little pillow and maybe either place it between your hips and your heels or under your forehead for a little extra support. So if that is helpful to you, feel free to take that variation. We're just going to take a couple breaths here. This should feel really restful. So if you're not able to completely relax here, see if you can adjust a little bit so that this feels like you're kind of just melting down into the mat. As we go through our practice, this child's pose is available to you if you need to rest at any point. You know, we're going to eventually go up to downward dog. So like I said, if your wrists start to get tired, you can always come back to this shape. Anytime you need to rest, anytime we're doing something that doesn't feel good for you, you can always modify. You can always take a break right here. One more big breath. And then start to shift your way back up through all fours. So this time from your tabletop, let's extend just the right leg out behind you. So right leg is long. All your other limbs are still in that tabletop shape. And then press the right heel towards the back of the mat. So you should feel a nice stretch in that right foot and calf. Good. And then start to hover the right toes off the mat, keeping the hips level. And we'll cross the right foot over the left, landing the right toes off the left edge of the mat. Start to shift your gaze over to the left as well. So we're creating this C shape with the spine and lengthening all along the right side of the body. And we're just holding this for a few rounds of breath, finding that space. As straight or curvy as a C as kind of feels good for you in this shape. 2 more big breaths. And 1 more. Go ahead and bring your gaze back to center in between the hands. Hover the right toes. Bring them back to where they started and release that right knee down to the mat. Good, we'll do that on the other side. So first just extending the left leg. Left toes stay on the mat to start. Pressing the left heel towards the back of the mat. Finding that stretch in the left foot, left calf. Hover the left toes. Hips stay level. And cross that left leg over the right, landing off the right edge of the mat. Your gaze starts to shift towards the right as well. So same thing on this side, just creating a nice big C shape with the spine. Stretching all along the left side of the body. So really just noticing here, feeling that connection from the heel of your left foot all the way up the left leg, all along the left side of the body, all the way to the crown of your head. One more big breath. Hover the toes, bring the leg back to center, and release that left leg back down to your tabletop shape. Good. Now walk the hands just about 1 handprint out in front of you. Curl your toes under, start to lift your knees and shift your hips up and back to our first downward facing dog. So we'll take a couple of moments to settle into downward dog here. You can have a slight bend in your knees in down dog. So something I often see is people trying to press their heels all the way down to the mat, which can be good if you just want an isolated calf stretch. But a lot of times in yoga, I think this pose is more about lengthening the spine. So if you want to keep that slight bend in your knees and really press into both hands, find length all the way from the palms of the hands to the tip of the tailbone. Keeping your head in line with your arms and shoulders. And then maybe a few times you might bend into one knee and then the other a little more deeply to kind of paddle out the dog and stretch into one leg at a time. A couple more breaths here. That big stretch. And then find stillness. Bend a little bit more deeply into both knees. Look up towards your hands. And we'll start to tiptoe the feet all the way to the top of the mat. So eventually, the feet land behind the hands, about hips width distance apart. Fingers can stay tented down on the mat, or you can grab opposite elbows. And just let your head and neck be heavy here. Maintaining that slight bend in the knees. Just releasing. Notice if you're kind of really holding on in your hips and core here. See if you can just let it go. Let yourself sink a little bit deeper into your forward fold. And just noticing the blood kind of moving around in your body. We're upside down for the first time in our class, so you might start to feel a little movement, a little shift of energy inside of you. If you're holding onto your arms, go ahead and release them down. Start to slide the hands up the legs, letting them land on either the shins or tops of the thighs as you lengthen the spine. This is our halfway lift shape, looking straight down towards the ground, shoulder blades drawing together to keep that back nice and long. And with a breath out, let yourself release back into your forward fold. On the next breath in, start to roll yourself all the way up to stand nice and slow. So just stacking one vertebrae on top of the next. Once you arrive, we'll roll the shoulders up and back at the top, landing in our first mountain pose. So in our mountain pose, you can roll the shoulders a couple times just to make sure your heart is nice and open, palms facing forward, feet about hips width distance apart. Feeling rooted into both feet. Good. Inhale, sweep both arms up and overhead. Let the fingers interlace up top. And then as you breathe out, side bend over towards the right side. Inhale, reach up again. Exhale, side bend towards the left. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release the arms down by your sides. Good. Now just let the right ear fall towards the right shoulder for a moment. And then maybe you also take the right hand to the left side of the head. Just give it a little extra weight here. So not like cranking and tugging your head, but just placing that hand here, letting the weight of your hand just open up the side of the neck a little bit more. And we'll release the hand, bring it back to your side, bring your head back to neutral. And same thing on the other side, let the left ear fall towards the left shoulder. Left hand can come to the right side of the head. Just a little added weight to find a little bit more of a stretch in the side of the neck. Good. And the opposite shoulder is just soft. So you might feel tempted to kind of crunch it up here. Just let it be neutral. Go ahead and bring your head back up to center, both arms by your sides. Reach your hands towards each other behind you. And you can either interlace your fingers at the low back, or if you can't quite reach, a couple options. So you could just place the hands on the low back here, or you could grab something in between your two hands. So I'm just going to take off my own sock and use that just so I can show you. But you could grab just something to create a little bit of connection here. And then whatever connection you're making, the shoulder blades will draw towards each other, the heart will open, and your gaze will lift a little bit. So you're looking maybe towards the place where the wall meets the ceiling, maybe even a little bit higher if you're feeling super open in your heart. Take one more big breath here. And then exhale, soften, release whatever connection you had. Inhale, sweep both arms back up, let the fingers meet overhead, and with a big breath out, we'll bend into the knees and just let the arms sweep down as you hinge from your hips, returning to forward fold. Good. Now bend into the knees a little bit more, just enough that you can plant the hands down on the mat, and we'll step both feet all the way back to a plank position. So anytime we come through plank, you can always tap the knees down for extra support. But wherever you are, just coordinating your shoulders over your wrists, core is strong, heels pressing back. And then we'll shift the weight just a little bit forward, start to bend into your elbows and slowly lower yourself all the way down onto the belly. Put the tops of the feet down onto the mat. If you can't be on your belly for any reason, you can just do a cat and cow pose again anytime we come through this shape. So feel free to stay on your hands and knees if the belly is a no-go right now. Press into your hands, start to peel your head and heart off the mat for baby cobra. So elbows hug again, shoulders drawing together. And exhale, release back down. We'll do that 2 more times with the breath. Press into the hands, press into the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift your head and heart. Exhale, release. One more time like that. Inhale to lift. And exhale, release. On the next breath in, press back up through all fours. And then we'll curl the toes under and take a big breath out to shift our hips up and back to downward facing dog. Breathe in and breathe out. Another breath in and out. Good. So that was essentially our sun salutation. So we'll move through that a little bit more quickly, starting to coordinate our breathing with our movements. So bending into both knees, look up towards the hands, and again, we'll step our way up to the top of the mat for forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, hands come to shins or thighs. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up to stand, sweep the arms up. Exhale, just take your hands to your heart center. Good. Inhale, fingers rise again. And exhale, dive all the way back to your forward fold. Plant the hands and step back to your plank. We'll take a breath in at the top. Exhale, lower yourself down to the belly. Inhale, flip the tops of the feet, baby cobra. Exhale, release. Inhale, press back up through plank or through your all fours. And exhale, return to downward facing dog. Take a breath in and a big breath out. Another breath in and out. Good. Bend into the knees. Look up to your hands again, and we'll step our way back up to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up to stand. Sweep the arms up. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. Now just find a slight little bend in your knees here. So not like a full chair pose, but just a little bit of a bend. And we'll shift the weight into the right foot and step the left foot back. So making our way to this high lunge shape. Good. Just finding your balance here and making sure you feel stable. Take the right hand to the right hip. Reach the left arm up to the sky. And the left fingers can reach any amount higher. And then if you'd like, you can extend the left arm over the left ear, finding a little bit of a side bend. It'll look like this from this angle. Good. Breathing here. Inhale, reach both arms back up to the sky, come back up to neutral. And with your breath out, we'll fold forward and frame that front foot, coming into into a runner's lunge shape. So with your runner's lunge, you can always tap the back knee down. This is somewhere where a lot of people like to use blocks in in-person yoga class, but if you don't have them at home, it helps to tap the back knee down. If you still can't quite reach the mat, you can just take your hands up to your knees or onto the top of the thigh to start, or use the support of a coffee table or something like that nearby. We'll press down into the left hand and then take the right hand to the low back and just find a gentle twist over towards the right side. Good. So your back knee can stay tapped down. If it feels okay, you can lift it, whatever you prefer. And then that right hand can stay on the low back, or it can extend up towards the sky, opening the heart a little bit more, stacking the shoulders. Good. One more big breath in. And as you breathe out, release that hand down. And we'll just set the back foot forward, returning to our forward fold at the top of the mat. Good. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up to stand. Sweep the arms up high. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. Find a slight bend in the knees, so that mini baby little chair pose here. And then we'll shift the weight into the left foot. This time the right foot steps back. Finding your balance in your high lunge here. Good. And then this time we'll take the left hand to the left hip. Reach the right arm up high. This might be a nice big stretch for you, or you might continue to extend the right arm over the right ear, finding a little bit of a side bend here. Good. Awesome. One more big breath in and out. Inhale, take both arms up high, return to neutral. And with your breath out, fold forward, frame the left foot, runner's lunge. So same thing, you can tap the back knee down. You can use the support of a table or whatever you have nearby. This time we'll press down into the right hand, take the left hand to the low back, and revolve the heart towards the left. Staying right here, or maybe extending that left arm up towards the sky. Starting the shoulders, opening the heart. Good. Take one more breath in here. And as you exhale, release the left hand and just step that front foot back to your plank this time. From the plank, we'll take another Vinyasa flow. So the Vinyasa flow is where we start in our plank. Take a breath in at the top. We'll exhale to lower down to the belly. Option this time if you'd like to pause halfway in Chaturanga. That's in your practice. Inhale to baby cobra or upward dog. So the difference with upward dog is your arms are straight, your hands and tops of the feet are the only things on the mat. A little bit of a deeper back bend. And exhale, make your way up and back to downward facing dog. Good. Take a few big breaths here. Anytime we go through a Vinyasa flow, you have those options. So you can lower halfway or all the way. You can come all the way up to upward dog, or just do a baby cobra like we did the first few times. Or you can even just skip it and go right to downward dog if you're not really feeling it. So lots of options. Child's pose is also an option, like I mentioned at the beginning. Take one more breath here in down dog. Good. Go ahead and bend into the knees, look up to the hands. This time we're just going to walk the hands all the way to the back edge of the mat for forward fold at the back. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, start to roll all the way up to stand. Sweep your arms up and overhead. Got a little bit of a ceiling closing in on me here, so I'm not going to reach my arms all the way up. And then take your hands to your heart with the breath out. Good. We're going to step the right foot just about halfway up the yoga mat. So just creating kind of this upside down V shape with the legs. And from here, we'll find a very, very slight bend in the knees just to protect the joints, and then start to hinge forward from your hips. So we're coming towards a pyramid pose. to stretch the hamstring. So you might pause right here with your upper body kind of like flat halfway down to the ground. If you have space, you might even release your fingertips down to either side of that front foot. And this is somewhere where it's super helpful to have something nearby for support. So whether that's blocks or, a piece of furniture. So this is a great place for me to kind of find this stretch with a little extra support. So feel free to use, any furniture you have around, even the wall for support can be helpful. Getting a nice stretch in your hamstring here. And we'll breathe for 3. For 2. And for 1. Start to roll yourself all the way back up to stand, nice and slow. Bend into that front knee so you're shifting over that front foot. And then just press your back heel down into the mat. So you should feel a nice stretch in the calf here, maybe a little bit into the foot. Just hold there for a moment. Take your hands on your hips. Good. And then we'll shift the weight over this front leg and come up to balance on that leg. So you might just kind of tent the big left toe on the mat just for a little extra support as we kind of find our way into this balance. But eventually, you're going to try to reach for the left foot and hold on to it with your left hand. Right hand can come to the hip. You can come out to the side. You can grab onto something nearby for support. And stretching into your left quad here. And if you're struggling to make a connection, this is another place where you might use something like a sock to help you here. So I might loop this sock around my ankle and hold onto it. That just gives me a little extra space so I don't have to be fully holding onto my ankle with my leg if it feels like too much of a stretch there. So that's an option too. And then from here, we're going to hinge a little bit forward. So reach your right fingertips in front of you and start to reach your upper body towards the front of your room as your back leg starts to kick away. So coming into your version of a dancer pose. And this might be the first time you're ever doing this, so feel free to grab onto a wall. I'm literally like tenting my fingertips against a wall for support. But just make sure you're not locking out your knee if you do that. So keep a slight bend in your knee just to make sure that standing leg is strong. And if you lose your balance like I just did, no big deal. You can just come right back into it. We'll hold for one more breath. And then release that left foot back down. Bring the arms by your sides. Shake out the legs for a moment. Notice how both sides feel a little different. So you've done kind of a little sequence on one side and not the other. And we'll head over onto the other side. So the left foot will step the rest of the way up the mat. So upside down V. And just starting to hinge forward from the hips again. So you can keep your hands on your hips. You can bring them to the center. Finding that stretch in the left hamstring muscle. And eventually maybe planting your hand on something. So whether you're tenting your fingertips on the ground, using a wall or a couch or a table in front of you. Just hinging out of the hips enough that you feel that nice stretch there. Good, and there's so many different options. I know I'm streaming this, so I can't look around the room and see what everybody is doing, but just know that I'm sure that of all the people watching this, there are many, many different versions of this pose going on. And that's totally fine. And that's kind of the point of yoga, right? It's not about what everybody else is doing. It's about listening to your own body. It's really kind of a personal experience. So it doesn't need to look like me. It doesn't need to look like what you see in a textbook or on Instagram. It just needs to feel like it's doing something that is serving you. Maybe just taking a moment here to recognize that and accepting wherever you are today. Take one more breath here. And then we'll bend a little into the knees, protect the joints as you roll yourself back up to stand. Bend into that front knee so the knee is over the ankle, and just press that back heel down into the mat. Maybe a slight bend in the back knee just to really feel that stretch in the back foot and calf here. Good. And then just like on the other side, we'll shift the weight completely over the left foot and start to find your balance on your left foot. So you might keep the big toe on the right foot kind of tapped down for just a little balance to start. And then once you feel good there, we'll bend into the right hand, grab onto the right foot. Same option if you like to have in a little sock to grab onto or something. Do that. A strap, a belt. Lots of options there for finding this connection. Good. First, just feeling this quad stretch here. Ram my head into the door. Start to hinge forward from here, coming towards dancer pose. Left fingertips reach forward this time. Maybe you use the wall for support. And that right foot is kicking into the right hand. Good. A few more breaths here. Feeling the strength of that standing leg, so you might start to feel a little crampy in that standing foot. This is how we build strength. This is how we build our balance. And we all fall over when we're trying to balance, so if we fall, just laugh it off. Come right back to it. Good. Carefully hinge yourself back up to stand. Land the right foot next to the left. We're at the top of the yoga mat now. Shake out the legs a little bit. Good. Take a big breath in. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And with a big breath out, dive back into your forward fold. Then into the knees, plant your hands and step back to your plank. And we'll take another Vinyasa flow here. So all of those options, you can always skip it. Meet me in downward dog. If you're flowing, inhale at the top. Exhale to lower halfway or all the way down. Inhale to your baby cobra or upward dog, finding a little back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Once you arrive there, take a big breath in and a big breath out. Another breath in and out. Bend into the knees, look up to the hands, start to walk the feet towards the top of the mat for forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to your fold. Inhale, roll up to stand, sweep the arms up. And exhale, sink into your chair pose with your hands at your heart. So a little deeper than that first bend in the knees we found here. Sinking the hips down. Make sure you can still see your toes, so knees shouldn't be way far forward. Most of the weight is in your heels here. And spine is nice and long. Good, sink a little bit deeper. And then come about halfway out of that, so just your slight bend in the knees. And we'll shift the weight into the right foot, step the left foot back to your high lunge. Inhale, reach both arms up and overhead. As you exhale, we'll open to warrior two. So your right fingers will come forward, your left fingers will come back, and the left foot will pivot so the left toes are pointing towards the left edge of the mat. You might widen the stance a little bit. Good. And just turn around so you can see it from the side too. Good. So we're super strong here. This front knee is over the front ankle. Notice if the front knee is kind of caving in a little bit. Try to keep your hip nice and open here. Good. And then we'll flip the front palm and reverse the warrior. Bring the right fingertips to the sky. Left hand lands on the left leg. Big side bend here. Bring your arms back out to a T. Straighten that front knee. And then turn the right toes so that all 10 toes are pointing towards the left edge of the mat. Reach the arms up to the sky. And with a big breath out, we're going to dive forward all the way into a wide-legged forward fold. So we're going to take a couple rounds of breath to release here. Breathing in, breathing out, in and out. Continuing with that. Any version of this pose or any shape with your arms you can take here. So you might have hands on your ankles, you might grab opposite elbows, hands might just be releasing down onto the ground. Let yourself open up here. And then we'll bend a little into both knees, just again protecting the joints as you roll yourself all the way back up to stand. Turn all 10 toes back towards the front edge of your mat. And make your way back into that runner's line shape. So bending into the front knee, take the arms up to the sky. Good. One more breath in here. As you exhale, fold forward and frame your front foot, and then step the front foot back to your plank. We'll take a Vinyasa flow. Inhaling at the top, shift the weight forward. Exhale, lower, halfway or all the way down. Inhale, baby cobra or upward dog. And exhale, make your way back to downward facing dog. Take a breath in. And a big breath out. Work myself back to the direction I started. You don't have to do that because you're probably just facing a consistent direction. Good. Bend into the knees, look up to the hands. Step or hop your way to the top of the mat for your forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, roll yourself all the way up to stand. And exhale, take your hands to your heart. Bend into the knees, chair pose. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper the second time around. See how strong you are. Super active in your legs. Pressing into the heels, glutes are strong. So good. And then we'll come about halfway out of this. Shift the weight into the left foot and step the right foot back to your high lunge. Inhale, both arms come up high. Exhale, warrior two. Left fingers forward, right fingers back. Right foot pivots out. Maybe the stance widens a little bit here. Front knee over front ankle. Super strong, gazing fiercely over those left fingertips. Go ahead and flip your front palm and we'll reverse the warrior. Left fingers rise, right hand comes down onto the right leg. Roll your arms back to your warrior two. Straighten the front knee. Turn all 10 toes towards the right edge of the mat. Inhale, arms come up, and exhale, dive all the way into your wide-legged forward fold. Good, release here for several rounds of breath. Now you might have found kind of a place of stillness on the other side where you were just kind of static for several rounds of breath. On this side, if you'd like, maybe find a little movement that feels good for you here. So I always like to bend a little into one knee and then the other. Find that feels really, really nice for stretching out my inner thighs. So if that's something that feels good for you, feel free to do that. Maybe you grab opposite elbows and sway a little from side to side. Or maybe you don't really feel like moving and you just kind of want to be still. So feel free to do the same exact thing you did on the other side if that's kind of what's calling for you today. Take about 3 more rounds of breath here. And then start to bend into the knees slightly, just protecting the joints. Roll yourself all the way back up to stand. Good. Turn all 10 toes back towards the front of the mat. Bend into the left knee. Reach the arms back up high, big breath in, and exhale, fold forward to frame that front foot. Step it back to your plank, and we'll take one final vinyasa flow here, or feel free to just skip it and go to downward dog. So you know the drill by now, just taking a couple breaths to rinse out that side. Find your big open heart, and meet back in downward facing dog. Good. Take one more big breath here. And then we'll tap the knees down and return to our child's pose. So your knees can be far apart or they can be close together. Just shifting your hips back towards the heels, walking the hands forward and releasing the forehead towards the mat. And same option that I showed at the beginning of class, to use the pillow either under your forehead or maybe between your hips and heels. And just let yourself be soft and heavy here for a few rounds of breath. So just taking a moment to notice any changes in the body. So as we've gone through our practice, you may be feeling a little more warm in the body. You might feel like your breathing has changed as we've gone through our practice. So just being aware of that. Noticing what's shifted. Noticing the changes. This is one of your first times doing yoga, or you haven't done it in a while. You notice how the shapes feel a little different from what you're used to. Just kind of harnessing that awareness. Taking a few more big breaths here. And then we'll lift the head. Just look up towards your hands and start to walk them all the way back in towards your hips. And we'll just spin around onto a seated position. And just extend the legs out long in front of you. So I'm facing you guys. Good. Now let's all just hug the right knee in towards the chest. Place the sole of the right foot down onto the ground. And then we'll hug this right leg with the left arm. And then swing the right fingertips behind you. So finding a twist. Looking over towards your right. Sitting up nice and tall through the spine. Maybe if you feel like you can twist a little bit deeper, you can hook that left arm to the outside of the right thigh. Just making sure you're sitting up tall in the process. And as you exhale, release out of your twist, come back to face the center. Go ahead and just let this right knee fall out to the side. So remains bent, but just falling over to the ground. And then take the left leg and bend the knee in the same direction. So I've heard this called like a cheerleader sort of pose, where both knees are bent and both feet are kind of, the soles of both feet are pointing over towards your left side. And then just start to walk your hands over this left leg, or the right leg, sorry. And just fold forward. You'll start to feel a stretch in your hip. Similar to a pigeon pose, maybe a little bit softer. And then if you feel like you want to go a little bit deeper into a full pigeon pose, you could just extend this leg out behind you and kind of adjust a little bit here coming into pigeon. Kind of listen to your body here. If pigeon is something that's in your practice that you've done before, then you can kind of feel comfortable with listening to yourself there. But if you're doing yoga, if your hips are really tight, let's stick with this and just walk as far forward as feels okay for you. Rounds of breath here, changing into this stretch. then start to walk your hands back in towards your hips, coming back up to sit nice and tall. And we'll re-extend the legs one at a time, bringing them back out in front of us where we started. Notice the difference between both sides. And we'll take that over to the other leg. Left knee hugs in towards your chest. Sole of the left foot planted on the mat. Hug that left leg with the right arm and swing the left fingertips behind you. Standing up nice and tall. Maybe hooking that arm to the outside of the knee. Big twist here. One more big breath in. As you exhale, release out of that twist. Let the left knee fall open. And then we'll bend into the right knee as well. Both soles of the feet pointing over towards the right this time. And then coordinating your upper body so you're kind of facing over this left knee. We'll start to walk the hands forward and just fold over that leg. Maybe onto the forearms. Maybe you continue to walk forward and rest your head down on the ground. And again, if you have pigeon pose in your practice, you can just extend that right leg out behind you and just kind of reorganize yourself into a pigeon pose. Just rotate this way a little bit so you can see what that looks like. Few more breaths here. Just letting yourself be soft, heavy. One more breath. And then we'll walk our hands back in towards the hips and unravel one leg at a time. Go ahead and bend into the knees and just plant the soles of both feet on the mat, and we'll just release ourselves all the way down onto the back. So releasing here. Good. Hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. And just let both knees fall over towards the right. Extend the arms out long or to goalpost arms, depending on how much space you have. So just to show you, arms can be like this or goalpost arms like that. Just let your shoulder release and soften. Let your lower back release and soften. Let your eyes soften. Even let your mind soften if you're starting to let it kind of slip away and wander. Just bring everything back here to the present moment. Bring your knees in towards your chest and then let them fall to the opposite side. Arms can stay right where they are, open to your goalpost. And same thing on this side. Shoulders are soft and heavy. Lower back, releasing. Let your mind reach towards stillness. Bring your knees back into your chest. Give yourself one last little hug here, and then extend the legs out nice and long. Take the arms down by your sides. And we always take a few minutes at the end of our class to be still. So when I say let your mind reach for stillness, just know that I'm not asking you to empty your mind completely. Asking you to not think about anything. asking you to find awareness. So, when your mind starts to wander, when you start to think about what you have to do later today, or think about what's happening next week, the tasks you have to complete, be aware of that. Don't just let it run away from you and, in your subconscious contribute to feelings of stress or feelings of discontent. Let yourself notice what's going on as it comes up. And maybe feel empowered to remind yourself that there's nothing in particular that you have to do right now. There's nowhere in particular that you have to be right now. All that is happening right now is that you are existing. You are here in this moment. You are here in this space. And the current moment is simply now. All you are doing is breathing and existing and being still. And sometimes that is okay. We live such busy lives, and it's easy to get caught up in everything going on around us and believe that there's always something more that we're supposed to be doing, always something that has to be done, always a reason that we have to be productive. And it is okay and often very important to just let yourself exist. Let yourself be, let yourself rest, let yourself be still, and be comfortable and okay with that. A few more breaths right here. And since you're practicing at home, you can stay here in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. So I know it was kind of a short one, but I'm not here to kick you out of the room, so you can stay here for another 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just nap the rest of the afternoon for all I care. Take your time. When you're ready, we'll meet in a seated position for just one last breath here together to close out our practice. I'm just going to scoot up to meet you. Go ahead and take the hands to the heart. And just like we started our class, take a big breath and sweep the arms up and overhead. And with the biggest breath out you've taken all day, letting it all out, lower your hands to your heart. Thank you so much for sharing your early afternoon on this snow day with me. The light in me sees, appreciates, and honors the light and love in each of you. Namaste. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you were able to join me this afternoon. If you have a couple minutes, just want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing and encourage you to stay in touch and, take class again with me sometime. So I think most people who signed up are probably in the New England area because I called it Snow Day Yoga. So, a lot of us have a snow day today. A lot of things are closed in Massachusetts where I am and some of the surrounding states. So just wanted to let you know where I teach in real life, in person, in the flesh. I teach at the YMCA, the Hockomock Y in Franklin and Foxborough. So I'm there a couple days a week. And then I also do yoga in the tap room every Saturday. So I'm alternating between Tackle Box Brewery in Marlborough, Mass. and 67 Degrees Brewery in Franklin. So those are on Saturdays at 11 a.m. I include a beer in the cost of the ticket. So we do yoga for an hour, and then afterwards you get to rejoice with a delicious craft beer in the tap room, and that's included with the cost of the ticket. So if you're interested in that at all, please check out the schedule on my website. I would love to meet you in person there. And you can also sign up for my email list to get updates about that stuff. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, where I also am constantly posting updates about that and posting the actual event information. So please stay in touch with me. I really hope to see you in person sometime soon. And also, there it shows my Venmo. So I'm doing this for free. It's just like for fun. But if you wanted to leave a tip or donation, that is kindly appreciated. So feel free to send a little something if you have it, but no pressure to do so if you don't. So thanks again so much. If you're watching, you should be watching this on YouTube. All the information that I just said is in the description of the video, so feel free to check there as well. And yeah, feel free to reach out. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and stay warm and safe, and good luck with all of your shoveling if that's something that is on the forecast for you today. Thanks again. Bye, everyone. Mwah.